Okay, good evening everybody. Welcome to this evening's stream. So this evening we're going to be just kind of kicking back into some game dev on the machine. So obviously, as most people know, the Mechanical Revolution season has just come to an end. I figured we'd tie up some loose ends here and we'll try and get some work done on the machine and hopefully get it wrapped up. I spent a little bit of time today during the day getting it to a state where I think it's almost there. So what we'll probably do for this evening is just do some of the polish tasks, and this might kind of work as a pretty good stream to kind of showcase the things to look for when it is kind of getting ready to publish a game. So kind of cleaning up UI, adding leaderboards, challenges, activities, all the little things that just kind of get that game from 95% to 100%. So just kind of testing all those little bits that you want to test and stuff like that. So hopefully towards the end of the stream we'll have a game ready to publish. So if you are watching along, then do kind of get yourself into position ready to come and have a little play, and we can do some balance testing and maybe even jump back and forth from editor to play mode, and we can do some live balancing and stuff like that. So it could be pretty fun. As I say, a little bit of a showcase of the sorts of things that we could look to do. Kind of wrapping up. Looks like we have a bot in chat. Just let me deal with that 1 second. Ooh. Yep, dry coast on the bot alert straight away, so bear with me. Let's make this window bigger. It's always the fun of streaming is you've got, so many windows going on. So let's... There we go. Okay, bot's gone. So ignore that link. Obviously don't go to that link. That's probably some nonsense you don't want to go to. And let's get straight into it. So let me move along here. Okay, so this is our game we've been working on. So for anyone who's missed it so far, this is the machine. And the idea behind the machine is that players need to work together to kind of fuel a furnace that's going to kind of keep the central area warm enough. And at night, they're going to be kind of under threat of cold. They're going to freeze, and they need to kind of keep the furnace going, so on and so forth. So I spent a little bit of time today, as I said, kind of polishing some of it up. So let's preview what we've got now. And as I say, I think I am kind of getting hopefully towards the sort of the back end of the development. So it'd be quite interesting to see kind of what sort of things fall out of the last little bit of development now. So we kind of hit a point where we're can showcase what's left. So there's a little bit to tidy up here. See a bit of UI that's out of place, but the loop should work completely now. So I start on day 1 and I have 1 to get. So the current goal is that each day multiplied by the number of players is the number of things that we need to find. Okay, so we've got to night time. We can see I'm taking damage and I'm slowing down. So the slowing down is something we added last time with AJ, and I'm wondering actually that might be a little bit severe, because I feel like I barely even left the place then and was killed. But it's a good showcase of this. So we've now got game over screen. So you can see all players eliminated. We've got a leaderboard that appears on the right, and we've got sort of your stats on the left. And then new round starting should reset us back to just before midday, sort of, or about 10 o'clock when the game should start. So okay, so we've got a pretty good loop there. It seems to be fairly reliable. Obviously, if I jump off this cliff, that's going to be the end, and then we get our game over screen again. The way it works is if there's multiple players in the game, and kind of, let's say there's 4 of you and 3 of you are killed, but 1 person manages to survive the night, then when the next day starts, everybody will respawn. But obviously they'll respawn with nothing, so it's kind of an uphill battle at that point to get on top of resources. Russ, can you play this solo too? Yeah, absolutely. So this will be solo. It's going to be part of the balancing. It's going to be trying to work out how to get a kind of an experience that works well for multiple players, as well as an experience that works for lots of players. So okay, let's see if I can make it back. I've got a feeling I'm going to need to have like a minimum cap. So like I've kind of got it that your percentage health missing is how slow you are, or percentage remaining. You can see now I'm at very little health. I'm barely moving. So I think one thing I need to do there as a balance is kind of have like a min speed. Okay. Tidying the UI, that's another kind of point there. Marat says stop the change of night and day. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Okay, if I'm quick. That's good, there's an item pretty close. So grab an item, got grog. We no longer equip the item because we're having the issue where the effect was pretty severe. I've fueled the furnace, so my target at the top has gone to 0, and that means that I'm sort of free for the day, or I'm free for the rest of the night. I'm safe in here. If I go outside, I'll start taking damage, but if I return inside, I am safe because the furnace is on. Reminds me of Huddle for Warmth. Yeah, so it's kind of leaning on the Huddle for Warmth sort of systems in a way. It's about, you know, kind of group survival, working together. This time I need to find 2 items. So the day-night cycle will probably be a bit slower. I think when we publish it, I'll make it like a few minutes. I think it's a 60-second day-night cycle at the minute. So you can see the time at the top is the actual time. If it was, you know, a real 24-hour clock. Okay. Yeah, cool. I think we'll leave it there. I think that's enough of the showcase. So that's the kind of gameplay we've got going. So now it is really just a case of kind of working at that. You should be able to push people out the door, like a launch other players mechanic. We were saying about being able to sacrifice yourself into the furnace to keep it going. Feels like it's a bit dark. It's a little bit not quite the sort of vibe we're going for. But yeah, so let's have a look at a few of those bits. So health widget, health script. So I did this little bit. If anyone's interested in how we do the slowing down, it is a fairly simple little bit of code just in the existing health script. You just kind of want to take this little bit here, and actually it works out a percentage kind of how much is left on the percent of health. So obviously once you're at 50% health, you want to be moving at 50% speed. Probably want to add a property up here for the sort of the min move speed, and we'll have that as a default of something like, let's say 0.25. So essentially we're saying, you know, a quarter speed is the least we want to go to. So let's find that little bit of code again. That was here. So essentially we work out the speed, but what we want to do is we kind of want to say the smaller value between, the larger value, between our min speed and our current speed. So if speed gets calculated to 0, we don't actually want to say that. We want it to be whatever we've specified as the min. So to do that, it's just simple math dot min, max. I want to take the larger of the 2 values. So the speed or our self.properties min move speed. Okay, so math.max will essentially just return you which is larger between these 2. So we're going to assign to our speed multiplier the larger number between our speed, which could be 0.75, it could be 0.1. If it's 0.75, then that is larger than this, so that's the number that will be returned. If it's 0.1, then obviously the 0.25 is larger from the property. That's the property that we assign here. So that's just a way that you can kind of cap that move speed without having to work out in the calculation, say, you know, if it's this, then this. It's kind of like work out the number, and then a nice way to just use a math function to kind of determine which to take, the one you've calculated or the defined value. And obviously you could do the same with the max. You know, if you wanted it to not go over a certain number, you'd say math.min, so take the smaller number between your higher cap and your calculated value. Okay, so that should hopefully make the game a little bit easier. The other thing I noticed, I was losing health pretty quick. So we can balance that here. So again, using properties. So properties are obviously really helpful because they expose parts of the script to the editor, so you can kind of play with numbers rather than tweaking code. You can kind of just plug numbers in. So here we can see I've got a, I'm sure I've got it somewhere. Oh, it's on the temperature. So the damage per check is 50. So if we lower that to say 25, so we're going to start taking half as much damage every check, which I think is every second. That should help us survive a little bit longer. What else did we have? Oh, the UI at the start in the top corner was a little bit off. So let's have a look at the I think it's part of the HUD. And that's on my user template. So if I load up the user template HUD, okay, we can see here that this is the widget being rendered here. So we've kind of got our default information up here. So the reason we were seeing this exact text at the start of the game is because we've shown the widget, but we haven't told the widget what information to display. So it's still going to display whatever our default is at the bottom of the widget itself. So if I go to my HUD info UI, we'll see here that at the bottom here where I'm kind of specifying what my data model is. So the data model being the data that is in this widget. So what information, what characters, what numbers. By default, it's set to resource target -1, day number -1. And this is just a string, kind of a collection of alphanumeric characters. So if I set this, and this is something I do kind of quite often, it's a little kind of cheap trick to make it look like the game's loading something. It kind of is, it's loading to the point where it hasn't given you something to display. So if you just put loading in one of them, I can probably clear this one and probably clear that one as well. So now what we get is this kind of blank box here because we've removed that time, and one of those strings again we've put as an empty string, so that disappears, and then just a loading in there kind of just makes it look like it's doing something. It's waiting for information essentially. Let's have a look, see how that looks now. If there's anyone watching along tonight who is new to Crayta, then firstly, welcome. Do make sure you subscribe and head over to Discord. That's discord.gg/Crayta. If you have any questions, then do feel free to shout them out in chat. It's kind of a bit of a casual stream where, we're here to kind of answer questions. And, if any questions about game development or Crayta itself, then yeah, feel free to fire them off in chat and I'll do my best to answer them. Okay, so I think we saw at the start, we had our loading message at the top, kind of makes a bit more sense. Let's see about the damage. So I've left quite late. The night is just starting, but I should start taking damage much slower. That's good. And I am slowing down still, but I should hit a point at about 250 health where I basically start moving at a steady pace. I stop getting slower. It's quite light still as well, so this is night. I could probably do with, I think the fog's making it quite bright at night. Yeah, here we go. So we can see here that, oh, I literally just hit the daytime, so I stopped taking damage. So let's see what happens when I hit nighttime again. I shouldn't get any slower. I should kind of be, I guess, finished off pretty quick. Okay, taking damage, but I'm still walking at the same pace. And then I'm done. And then basically the game works out that there's no players left alive. So the way the game ends is once all players have died within a round, the day-night cycle kind of resets itself back to where it is. And then we start again. Okay. So that is that. What else can we do? So we could probably have a look at getting some a bit more kind of cleaner UI while we're working in that area. So what I'm probably going to do is just a little bit of CSS tidying up. I'm definitely a wizard at this sort of thing. It's certainly an area that I often leave to to the more experienced players. But it's really nice, within Crayta, it's a really nice environment to just kind of practice and test and learn more about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So that's what all the UI is built in. And you can do some nice things to kind of split the editor up. So I often find what I like to do is when I'm working on a full screen UI, is I'll go to my user template. One thing you can do is you could shift select everything, and you kind of get everything up here at the same time. So if you select a script folder, it will display any UI within that script folder. But none of these things actually appear on the screen at the same time. I've taken care to kind of make sure that they are individual. So we should be okay to just look at the HUD for now. So let's do that. Okay, and when I'm editing the widget, a nice thing to do, I think, is to kind of split it up. And I found recently, if I put it on the left like this, and I close the library, okay, that kind of gives me enough. It's quite a narrow window, but when you're working with kind of a CSS file, you kind of end up with quite a thin. You don't really need the full width of the window. I think it's quite good to kind of experiment with that. Obviously, I lose a little bit the longer HTML, but at this point, I'm kind of happy that this is working. It's just the CSS I'm working with. So having it kind of split left and right, I feel like it just gives you a bit of an easier window here to work with. Okay, so I haven't really gone for a general theme in this in terms of the way the UI should look. I quite often end up with just borders around kind of light grey backgrounds. So I'll have a little go at making it have a little bit more interesting. I think one of the first things you can do to really make your games stand out in terms of the way the UI looks is to change the font. Now the font can change. It's quite easy to do, and I'll show you how to do that actually. So let me just go back to this screen, and I'll just pull up a Chrome window, and I'll go to our developer website. So if anyone here watching hasn't been to it, it's a really useful website. It's developer.crayta.com. Okay, so let me just show you this. So developer.crayta.com is a kind of your one-stop shop for all things kind of Crayta development. So we've got tutorials at the top. We've got our companion site. So the companion site is a place where you can upload UI images. You can view your kind of manage your created games. You can do things like publishing from there, updating kind of the name, description, all sorts of stuff around the game. Or you can find games to play, and then you can actually launch the games from there. So you can kind of hit play, and it will say, do you want to play on the EGS store or on Stadia? Obviously, if you haven't got EGS installed, then Stadia is a perfect option because it just fires up in your browser, provided you've got a Stadia account, which is free. So, I mean, it's free on EGS as well, but obviously the beauty of Stadia is you don't have the long download to start with. So if you are just dipping your toes into Crayta and wanting to know what it's all about, then Stadia is a really great way to kind of dive in and have a little look. And if you do like it and you prefer to play a PC version, then the EGS build is there, also completely free. So pretty good way to get into Crayta. We've got the various things explained here. So we've got API docs. So for the developers who want to get into the kind of the meat of the engine in terms of what they can do with code, then the API docs are great. Forum, obviously the forums are really good kind of way to kind of have things. So our Discord is really active, but obviously the chat's quite quick. So having the forum is a great place to kind of log information. You can do package guides. You can kind of update game information, game releases, get information about your game from various players, get feedback through the forum. Lots of ways that you can use that. Feature voting, all this stuff, really great. So if you haven't been to developer.crayta.com, a really great place to keep up with all that sort of stuff. I'm going to go to tutorials. Okay, and we have a tutorial down here called Using Fonts in Crayta. So this is a really good play to kind of get little code snippets and an example of the sort of fonts that you can kind of just throw into Crayta straight away. So I'm going to grab this. Okay, and at the top of my style, I'm going to put move it across actually, so make sure it can be seen. Gotta get that formatting right. Okay, Might just remove the font weight from that actually. Okay, so what we need now is to replace our font name and font file with the font that we want to pick. So if we go back to here, we can scroll down and see there's a whole list of Google fonts that are kind of supported by default. So you get a little example of what the font looks like. So let's have a look at what we might want in this game. This one looks pretty good. Let's give it a quick go. So if I take this sort of .ttf file, so that's the kind of the font file name, and I just drop that in there, and then the name of the file is here. So this is the font name, or it's normally whatever's at the start of the file. You can take that as well. Okay, so I'm going to drop that in there. So if I save this, we'll notice that the font doesn't actually change. We can see just up here we've got our loading. That's not actually changed, and that's because we haven't told it in CSS what we want to use. So the easiest way to do that is to just grab that font family from there and drop that into the body. When I save here, we can see that the font here is just updated really quickly. So just a couple of, copy and paste from the developer site, pick your font, drop it in. It's super quick, and it's a really, really effective and nice way to make your game stand out a little bit more against other games in Crayta. Changing the font really, as I say, really quickly just gives you your own style. So there's quite a lot to pick from. Slater says Bangers is my go-to. Bangers here. Yeah, Bangers is pretty good. It's kind of got that comic book feel to it. That's a pretty good one. Quite a few quite themed ones. So Press Stop 2P's quite kind of arcadey. I look down here. I quite like some of these handwritten ones are quite nice. Kind of the graffiti one. It's pretty cool. Yeah, quite a lot of different different styles there. And as I say, imagine games that use these kind of effectively against the sort of the way the game looks, like the theme of the game, are going to really stand out really quite quickly. Another thing you can do, what I might try and find some use for actually, is down here. So if you scroll down enough, you can see you've got icon fonts. So we now support Font Awesome as well. So I've been using this quite a lot. So if anyone who played the Crayta games, the sports game we had a couple of weeks ago, will have seen little icons representing each of the events. So it's actually really quite powerful here. Again, another way to kind of make UI feel really quite nice and clean. So I wonder if I could use like a night and day. Yeah, let's have a look. So if I want to use Font Awesome, okay, I'm just going to select all this code from up here, and just like before, I'm going to kind of drop this in at the top up here. Okay, so there's nothing to change with this one like we did before. This is just importing Font Awesome and given as a class called .fa to start with. Okay, so if I want to include an icon in my UI, I need to include this span here. Okay, so if I do that, let's just include this down. We'll just put it here for now. Okay, and when I save, you'll see I've got this little bird that's appeared up here. Okay, so I wonder if, let's get rid of that. Let's put it in the time of day container. Okay, so I need to obviously change this bird to be something a bit more relevant. So the way to do that is go back to step 2, and we can see that we've got a file here. So if I click that, okay, that's going to load up another web page. Okay, so this is the Font Awesome cheat sheet. So Font Awesome is a thing outside of Crayta. We're kind of importing into and using it. And I don't know, it's probably quite small on the screen, but there's all of these icons. We'll do I think most of these, if not all of these, should work with the game. So let's have a look. I think you can search as well. It's quite nice. Probably just a browser search will do. So if I look for a clock, okay, we can see it's found a couple of clocks here. This one looks pretty good. So once you've found one that you like, you get the little icon to show you what it is. You'll get the name of it, so here, clock. And then we have next to that like an F code. It's F017, for example, this one is. If I copy that, and you'll see that part of this span was an F 520. So if I just replace that with what I want, then you can see here in the middle, we've got our little clock that's appeared. Okay, I'm going to give this another class. I'm going to call it, I'm just going to call it icon. Okay, and because this is technically a font, so the way that Font Awesome works is they're icons that are essentially fonts. You can control things like the size of it, just like you would font. So for example, the font size of this icon, I want it to be 5 rems. And you can see that's grown in size. Text line center, so that's going to move that to the center. I might just make it a little bit smaller. Okay, and then I guess just the classic, we'll do a little bit of a border around these. I might give it a little bit of a border radius as well. Let's say, throw some numbers in to check. Okay, I might just do the same. The same on my other container. But actually, just do it on one corner. A little bit of trial and error to get me the right one. So, what's that inside? I broke the graphic there, I think. So let's do on that one. Oh yeah, so slightly rounded off, just a little bit more of an interesting shape on that. That's when I hit play, and we'll just see how that icon behaves with the message. Okay, so I could do is making it a bit smaller, and obviously now I've changed the font. The font itself is inherently a bit bigger, so it's spilling out of that, but that's not a bad size. I could just make that all a little bit wider. I think the time works quite nicely. I just need to make the font a bit smaller on the icon, perhaps. Okay, and then I wonder if I could find an icon for the target and the day number as well. So the icons are just a really nice way to just make the UI feel a little bit more finished off, I think. Just kind of add a little bit more, a bit more interesting rather than just text. You know, it's kind of just explains what's going on a little bit more. So let's make the icons half the size. Maybe a bit bigger, something like that. Okay, and let's see about getting those to appear. So how can I, this is where my CSS, hey, my UI knowledge is going to get tested. So I want to make these in line with each other. If I do this, and I'll say this is a, I don't know, what are these? I guess it's info. And if I make the info display flex, hey, there we go. Cool. So I see the loading's just moved to the side of it. I'll call this a label. So put a bit of a margin to the left of it. So margin left, 0.5 rem, and the font size. What's the default font size for the widget? 2. In fact, yes, rather than that, let's change this. Be a 1.5. And then if I make this a min width, of that. That means that if something inside of it wants to spill out, it can. You know, the container itself will grow a little bit. My icon, my clock has moved. Oh wait, did I copy paste it? Is that why? I did. I mean, cut paste. There we go. Okay, so if I do the same for this one, so essentially contain everything I need to inside of a div, and call this one label. Okay, so you can see here that that's spilled out slightly. So if I just make the container height min as well, then actually that allows it to grow what it needs to, which is quite useful, you know, for getting it to kind of dynamically change with the information that's being given to it. Does it have padding? It does. Might just increase that padding slightly. Okay. Right, so let's see what icons we can use for that. So target, I probably want I guess a target would be good. No target found. What would be a good thing? Bullseye. There we go. F140. And then the other thing is kind of the day number. So I guess calendar might work quite well. Let's try that. F783. That kind of works. This one, I made that smaller. So let's see how this works now. I kind of like the white on the black, actually. I know it's kind of basic, but it's I think anything too colourful kind of goes against the coldness of the game. Like that doesn't look too bad. I think that looks alright. So I could probably use the icons to help explain when it's day and when it's night as well. Okay. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. Quite like that. So the other thing to do now would be to kind of start making the font kind of the same throughout a lot of the widgets. So things like notifications will need the same fonts. So let's get one we're using here, and we can just start going through some of our widgets and updating those. So there we go. That's changed the notification, the prompts. The health widget. Okay, what else might have some? I guess the inventory. Okay, so look, see if anything else pops up that we haven't updated. If I want to make my own game, I need that script guide. If I want to make my own game, I need that script guide. So which script guide you mean? Okay, we can see that the numbers down the bottom are under the new font. The kind of the little 1, 2, 3, 4 on the inventory is also the same. Ah, there we are. Location. When that appears, that could do with being the new font as well. Location UI. That's also using its own already. But I'm going to change it to be this one. Okay, front family. So I think that's on the user. I'm not sure. There's probably some code in place to kind of hide this. Probably easiest to test it is to go back into preview. So again, one of the the nice things with Crayta is that speed of iteration. This one is a little bit slow to get in, and it's purely because the size of the map's getting a bit big. But it's pretty quick, to be honest. Like compared to conventional game development, to be able to make a change and test it this fast is quite incredible. Okay, so we've got the old font there. So let's have a look at what's going on with that. You can tell this is a Sean widget because it's got so much CSS and things that I don't understand going on. Oh, this is the inventory location. I mean, it's still. There we go. That's probably what's thrown that off. So remove that. And let's just check for anywhere else that's using font family. Just those two. Okay, that should do it. There we go. Base, you are safe here. Cool. Okay, so we can already see really from the start of the stream, we're just kind of, that extra layer of polish is really starting to set in. There's a few things we want to do. So the notification was another one that perhaps could do with a bit of an update. So anything that makes it look just even slightly different from the stock defaults, this blue can probably be replaced. So I think shout parent background. So if we just change this to something a bit more boring like what we have in the other ones, 0.75 I think it is. So that's just black, but with a kind of 0.75% transparency. So it's kind of got a bit more. You can see through the widget slightly. If I lift it up here, you might not be able to tell, but you can just sort of see a few stars through the back of that. It's already got the border radius going, so it's kind of got like a bit of a funky kind of curved edge. Might just increase that slightly. There we go. And also I'm going to give it an actual border. There we go. I think it just helps it sort of stand out on screen a little bit more. Not so bothered about the notifications. I quite like the way that they work already with the kind of the fade off into the screen, so that doesn't really need a border. It spoiled that effect. So I think they look pretty good. Prompts are okay. I don't even know if the prompts really appear. It's only when you're about to interact with the widget. Right, this page definitely needs a little bit of work. So let's pull in that font for a start. Okay, and we might find that things, yeah, start to overflow a little bit now. So let's decrease some of the sizes. So main message probably stay that big. I think that's pretty good. Sub message similarly. Leaderboard title needs to be a bit smaller to fit. In fact, it's all overflowing a bit now, so that works. Let's make the leaderboard container itself a bit lower. And then this side obviously is a bit too big still, so let's update that. Okay, yeah, that kind of works. So we're going to do a few basic things again. So our game stats container, which is this one here, let's just give that a border. And we'll give it a lower border radius. I think it was 0, 0, 2 rem. There we are, so we've got that curve just on one corner. What can I do with the leaderboard? I don't really want it to be like a table. I wonder if I could just do something like remove the overall border, do it like a border left, but make it a bit thicker. So if I said like 1 rem solid white, this gives me like a line down the side. Maybe if each record had a slight gap, so the margin bottom between each one is something like 0. There, got like the little white block down each side, kind of works. And then if I do something with the title, so that needs a background to it because I think it's quite hard to see sometimes. And I'll probably just do the same. Yeah, and if I do border radius on the top right corner, which I think will be this one. So it's kind of curved that top right corner. Something like that. Maybe a border underneath as well, actually. Something like that. Looks a little bit neater. And then the top. How about we do so the same around the edge. So this is the message container. So that's already got a background. Let's do the border. And then let's do our border radius at the bottom. But this time we kind of want maybe to kind of do both bottom corners. So I think 0, 0, 2 rem, 2 rem gives you that kind of rounded bottom corner. That looks okay. A little bit more interesting, you know, about within the limits of what I think I can do realistically. So yeah, I think that's all right. Might just make the second part of that, say loading as well, actually. So loading. Okay, let's have a little look at how the UI fits together now. What you could do is some music as well. I think that'd be pretty good. Okay, target already reached for today, so I've got 2 left. I should be back up to full speed now. Maybe I could do with a little bit of information at the top to say when day is and when night is. I think that'd be pretty handy. I feel like I'm not quite full speed, even though I should be back up to full speed. Okay, so let's pretend I get a bit greedy and I come out into the night. Although I don't think I'm going to take enough damage to be killed in one night. So I wonder if the damage you could take can be related to the number of days you've survived. Like the nights do get harder. Now I'm just stuck moving really slow. Because the other side of this game, to kind of add an extra element to it, I was thinking about having it so you have to add specific items to the cog, like on a given, to the machine. So on a given day, it requires not just 3 things, but like a coal and 2 cogs. You know, it's kind of a bit more, you can't just assume, oh, didn't make it. There we are. Okay. And then my new round UI. Yeah, I think that seems to work. But yeah, basically trying to make it a bit more interesting so you can't just kind of find loads of stuff and be sorted. It's like you might have found lots of everything of one, lots of one thing, but not many cogs. And actually today you need cogs. So, and then maybe a way that you can trade them in for stuff like kindling to light little fires outside. And I think this is the sort of thing that, when you're getting towards this stage of the development, you're kind of better off getting what you wanted to get done originally finished and out and get people to play the game. And, you might have 100 more ideas, but actually once you've got people playing it, you kind of then start to find new things that you might want to do or new priorities and new ways for players to play. You can make it, so when I get this in here, yeah, I'm still not getting the prompt to appear. That's probably something I need to do, like a quality of life thing, is a sign or something here to explain what to do. Or actually, yeah, that coupled with another little thing. So what I'll probably do now is, now I think the UI is good, I'm going to get a little tutorial in. So in the next big update, we're going to have loading screens, help, and things like that. In the meantime, there's little things you can do to kind of help players when they come into your game. So let's close all that and let's go to our community tab. And I'm going to search for tutorial. Okay, and this is my tutorial package. So this is one that's just a kind of camera-based system. So the camera can move around the world. And it takes a little bit of working into the game loop, so I'll have to think about that. How to basically make it so the game doesn't really start until you've done, or maybe it could do. Yeah, we'll have to work out how it kind of behaves to start with. So what it comes with is it comes with a script folder for the user called user tutorial. So we go over to our user template and we want to just drag that over here. And we see we get this. So we get a bit of UI up here and all of the logic that's needed to basically pass the player through a series of cameras, which can have text associated with them to kind of say, this is how you play. This is how you play this game, or these are the sort of things that you need to pay attention to. So the way it works is anything with a tutorial spec script attached to it is what you're looking for. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just update the UI again, just to kind of bring it in line with everything else that we've got. Let me just hide that for now. If I just open my notification widget, I'm just going to pinch that little piece of code. Okay, so we see that's updated. I'm going to make the border white. I'm going to make the background match everything else. Okay, that should do. Prompt. Might just remove the background actually and just have the white appear and then that's white. What else? Oh, probably just a quick border radius, the same. Okay, there we go. So the way that I get this to work then is I want to add some cameras to my world. So the first camera I might want to have up here. I'm just going to unparent that. So I've got a camera that sits up here in the world tree. I'm going to call this tutorial 1. And I'm just going to turn off my UI and kind of get into position where I want the camera to be. So something like this. Move to drone. So that camera's now moved up to exactly where my drone was based on my position and rotation. So when I look through this as a player, I'll get to see exactly what the drone just saw. And I want to add a script to this. I'm going to add the tutorial spec script. Okay, so I'm going to say the camera is myself. So it could be that you have, something else in the world has this script and you tell it which camera is, but I find it easier to be the camera itself that kind of self-references. Header, the header for this first one will be base camp. This is base camp. This is base camp. You are safe here when the furnace is burning. Okay, so I need to add a new one. So I'm going to copy and paste this camera. And I'm going to do a little fly down to the furnace. Move the drone. This is the furnace. Add fuel to the machine to keep it burning. Okay, so what I like to do here is I like to try and kind of keep each tutorial kind of leaning on the next thing. So the first thing mentioned the furnace, so then we go to the furnace. This one mentions the machine, so then now we're going to go across to the machine. the machine. This is the machine. Feed it items to keep the furnace burning. And then from here, I could just fly out to here to kind of give like a bit of an overview of like, you know, the world. The world is dangerous at night. Find items and return to base during the day. Okay, so that little index down there just basically determines the order of them. That should be everything I need. So in order to get this to appear, if I just open the user tutorial script, so make this full screen again. So you can control kind of what the prompt is to press. You know, what button it is. I think by default it's jump to get sort of to step through them, but yeah, you can change the prompt to kind of work however you'd like. The save version, so it will basically save against the user if the tutorial is run. So rather than that user having to see it every time, you could write it in a way that the user only gets to see it the first time they play the game. Let's have a look at how we're going to use this. If I go to the game script, we probably want to have on user login in here, so we catch when the user logs in. We can kind of check if they have completed the tutorial. If not, we can force them through it and then they can spawn. So we probably want something up here. So when we start, we go straight into a game script and we start the day. So what we could probably do first is check we have at least one player spawn. No, not one. At least one user ready. Okay, so we can check here to see that we have at least one user ready in the world. Let's get the users. Ready. Let's have ready to play is false. Wow, ready to play is equal to false. We're going to just do this loop. So we're essentially going to get stuck here in the loop until we've got kind of at least one player ready to go. So if well, actually, let's do this a bit smarter. So rather than ready to play, let's say ready users is 0, and while ready users is 0, we're going to keep going through this loop. Okay, so we have a property on the user here that basically we can control whether or not they're kind of in the tutorial currently. So when we start the tutorial for a user, we want to set that to true. Okay, when we end the tutorial, we set that to false. So this is essentially just a little flag on the user to say true or false, are you currently doing the tutorial? So in the game script, we can check for every user. So if user find script property, so we're going to check what the value is against that for this user. So if is in tutorial, check that's right, lowercase I. So if is in tutorial equals false, then ready users equals ready users plus 1. So we're going to increase that number by 1. And actually at this point we might as well break, because we've hit a point where we've found at least one user that's ready. So we're going to start the game. Okay, so that should stop the game from starting until we've got at least one user ready. And we'll just wait a second at this point, because if we hit here, then wait a second, yeah, and then we'll go around the loop again. We'll probably need to think about if we start a new round while someone's in tutorial, we probably don't want them to spawn, so we can adjust this script to catch that. So spawn user script. So we already have an on user login here we could make use of. So here we can say if self get entity, so a bit like we did before, is in tutorial, then let's just return, let's just not spawn this player because they're currently in this tutorial, and we'll just do a print out. Okay, so we're just kind of going to control as and when players will spawn to just kind of really, have the start of the game kind of work best for everybody. Is what we're really aiming to do here. So when I've ended this tutorial, this is probably where I want to then tell the player to spawn. Or actually, they've already spawned. We've already assuming the player has spawned at this point. So probably just need to be careful here. So if self get entity get player. So if we have a player, then let's do that. Otherwise, let's spawn a player. So self get entity enter scripts spawn, and we want to say spawn is true. Okay, let's see if that would actually need to start the tutorial, don't I? So I could do that in here. Just check I haven't already got an on users login. No, I don't. Okay, so I've got this property up here, tutorial ran. If tutorial ran is false, then user send to scripts start tutorial. Else we probably just spawn the player. Does that make sense? Or actually, maybe I just don't spawn a player at all, and then they only come in when the next day starts. That might be a good one. What I'm hoping to do is probably get this published actually in the next sort of 10-15 minutes. And if anyone's watching and is able to jump in, that'd be great. And we can have a little look at kind of how these mechanics work. And maybe I can tidy them up a little bit after the fact. So, okay, something broke. Use tutorial script. Attempt index and nil value. Line 49. Okay. So if there's a player, do these things. In the same way we're checking here, we kind of need to do the same at the start. So actually, they may not have them. Dryco says play sesh. Yeah, hopefully in the next sort of 5-10 minutes, if I can just get through this little bit of logic. Okay, so interesting. So it's still spawning me when it shouldn't, and I'm now not getting. I'm now stuck with loading at the top, and the time of day is totally broken. Okay. Tell you what I might do is I might just not overcomplicate this, and I might just remove that little check at the start for enough ready players. I think that's throwing things off. I think this is causing more problems than it's worth. So when I appear, yeah, let's see if this works now. Right, so I shouldn't be able to move, so that's what I need to sort out. This is the machine. The world is dangerous. Okay, so it all works. I just need to basically stop myself from moving at the start, and I think that will kind of tidy that little bit up. And then we'll do a couple of quick challenges and activities added, and then I think we'll be good to give it a quick publish after just balancing a few numbers here and there. So, user tutorial. Okay, so this is obviously being missed because I don't have a player when I start the tutorial. It's not a very long tutorial. I'm wondering actually if rather than doing it on user login, or I could, yeah, could I just spawn a player? I'll make sure they've at least got a character. I make sure they've got a character, so by the time they get through the tutorial, they have actually got a player to freeze, if that helps. Didn't seem to help. Okay, so instead of sending to scripts, I'll just explicitly spawn a player. Instead of that, let's just say user spawn player. Play template, so let's add a play template up here. Okay, see if this is it. So this should spawn a player straight away and give me a player that I then control by the time I get to the tutorial. I think before, because I was doing a send to scripts, it wasn't quite happening, although nope, I'm still able to move. This is in the tutorial, so not spawning, although I'm now getting it to explicitly spawn me. Spawn player, start tutorial. Maybe I need to buy myself a bit more time, unless I'm just missing something. What if I do this instead? So use a spawn player with effect. Tell you what. Hashtag dirty hacks, yeah. Yeah, I kind of want the players to be there. Like, I don't know, something with the way I've got all this set up. There's something else is spawning the player somewhere, but this should return me a player. So if I say user spawn player should return the player to me, which I think it does. Yep. And then if I just do from here, player speed multiplier equals 0, player dot can jump is false. And then these things should be reset when I get to the end of the tutorial. If this doesn't work, I might just drop it, and then I might just do the other little bits I want to try and do. Yeah, no, I'm still able to move. I think something else must be spawning me, and that's throwing it all off. So I might just leave it as it is. You know, you'll jump your way through the tutorial at the start. We'll tidy that up. What I want to do is have a look, just double check what I've got in terms of activities. Buying. I need to get rid of that because there's no purchasing. And there's no selling. Pick up 3 items. I'm going to adjust this one. I'm going to clear. Oh, I'm going to delete all of it apparently. Okay, so we want to have one called pickup and have this pickup, let's say 10 items. Survive. Yeah, have it survive, and we'll say survive 5 days. Might be a bit easy, but we'll see. How about the heart? Event is survive. Count is 5. I'm gonna have a condition here that day number is greater than 1, so it kind of skips the first day. What I've got activities wise, selling and pickup. So we've got pickup as an activity, that's fine. We'll just adjust this one to be based on suvive. And same as the other one, day number has to be greater than 1 for it to count. Okay, so in order to fire these off in code, it's pretty simple. We just need to find where we want to do it. So game script is probably going to be the place for most of these. We do have something in here that gets called, I should explain, the game script here is very different to the stock one. This is one that I've kind of made, as kind of like a default, kind of to fit this game. It's very specific. So when I say game script, a lot of the code in here is very different to the stock game script that you'll find with the starter games. So don't be confused if you try and follow this along at a later date and none of it makes sense. We have a function here called onPickup, and then on the user we actually call onItemCollected. So I think that's in here. Yeah, so what we can just do here is we can, on this user, we can fire an event. So send XP event of pickup. Okay, and that doesn't need anything else because that's just a straight event. So every time I do this, it's going to fire one challenge and one activity. And once I've done the challenges, it won't do those anymore. But obviously, the activities will continue to tick over. On day complete. Oh, that's once you've finished. Yeah, once you've donated. I don't want that. I want on day start. At the start of a day, everybody has essentially survived. We increase the current day number at this point. So the first time we do this, it goes from 0 to 1. So here we can basically step through for every user. First thing we want to do is send off our activity event or our XP event. Send XP event, survive, and the parameters that this time we're going to check is our day number. So day number is current day number. Right, let's have a quick look, check that these are working okay. Yeah, as Dryco said, let's make sure we can still jump. Gonna make this game a bit difficult if you can't. I suspect that on user login that I've got there is being superseded by something else. So can still jump. Obviously the first time you jump you're going to go through the tutorial. Okay, so let's pick up an item. So 0 of 10, 0 of 5. I pick up an item, I've got my 1 of 10. To make sure I survive the day. And when we get around to the top, we should see we get, there we go, survived the day. So it didn't do it for the first day, but it has done it for this day. So that works quite nicely. Let's just see if I fall into the pit. Okay, you survived 2 days, you collected 1 items. I guess I technically survived 1 day because I died on the second day. Okay, cool. I think I'll be happy with those 2 challenges and that. So we'll be at 20 past 8. I think now's a great time to probably just quickly do the balance. So I want to see how long should we say? It's currently a minute. If we said like 3-minute day-night cycle, that'd be too easy. That might be too easy. I'll go 2 minutes. World. So it's a 2-minute day-night cycle. I think that Should do it. So let's publish this. Surviving a frozen wasteland by keeping the machine fueled. Something like that. Okay, probably need a custom image at some point, so you can upload obviously your own custom images. But let's have a look, see if we can find something more relevant. Maybe this one. It's kind of a little bit frozen. What sort of game is this? We can say it is a kind of base building, I guess. You are kind of working together to keep a base open and kind of keep everyone alive. It's cooperative. It is a couple more open world. You know, it's kind of free to explore. Post-apocalyptic. I think it's fairly post-apocalyptic. Survival, and I think that'll probably do. Urban life, one of those. No, okay, cool. It's a base building, cooperative, open world, post-apocalyptic survival game. Okay, and that is published any second now. There we go, cool. Okay, well that's the machine published, so I'll throw up a share code in a moment into chat and we'll go and have a little play and we'll just sort of see how well that holds up, how well that works. I'll make some notes and then you know, this can kind of become a game I work on during the day, sort of off stream, but hopefully this series has been kind of interesting. We've done quite a lot of streams on the machine. We've had a lot of kind of art streams almost, where we've done a lot more of the world building. We've done some streams kind of quite heavy coding, and then just some general laid back, like this one's just kind of tying up loose ends, try and get it into a place where it's ready. So hopefully it's sort of been a process people have enjoyed watching, and obviously let us know if you'd like to see more of this sort of like larger scale project. Obviously there's still a ton of stuff we could do with it that, you know, we'd like to do with it. Oxy DJ is already here. Good. Okay, so we need to find two things at the start. I'm going to quickly get that share link. Oh, didn't mean to go on that. Create share link. Okay, share link is in chat now. So if you want to jump in, come and play. I feel like I've let us down already because I've not found anything. It's already night. See if I can at least grab a couple of things. Oh yeah, bonus. Right, if I can make it back before I freeze. Okay, there we go. We are safe. We've made it through that day. Have I sped up? I definitely seem to be stuck at the slower speed. That's not good. There we go. Okay, I'm faster now. Took a little time. I think it's when it gets to day, you know, you need to thaw out a bit. You need to find 6 things. Okay, well, I've got 3. I'm going to hope DJ's pulled his weight and got his bits. A quick look up the tower. Nothing up here. I think a big part of this is really going to be balancing the the amount of pickups, the amount of spawns, kind of how much damage you take, how much, you know, how fast you regain health, you know, the amount of the target you need. There's a lot of balancing that's going to be needed here. Ah, cool. That's the first time I've seen that actually pop up. That's pretty good. So I can see that DJ dropped some things in there. I've got a pretty full inventory. We're probably going to hit a point where we actually need to do multiple trips back and forth to clear the inventory. So there we go. We're safe for today. We're done. Might also be good actually to have a count somewhere on screen of the number of players. That might be pretty good. Let us know in chat, you know, if you're watching along and aren't able to play, if there's anything you can think might be pretty good. I accidentally fell off the cliff. Respawn doesn't seem to be enabled at the moment, by the way. So respawns should happen when the day starts again. So when we get to daytime, you should respawn. If not, then that's not working. Okay, I need to find 9 things. Yeah, you should find. Oh, I could just put all my stuff in now. That everybody's respawned at the start of the day. If not, then that's not working, and I'll have to make a note to have a look at that. Two things left. Yeah, definitely something going on with this speed as well. I feel like I should be able to move faster than this. I'm kind of stuck at the speed I was. There, so I'm suddenly able to go quick. Weird. I just thought another nice little balancing thing for this might actually be the more something gets collected, so like the more a certain resource point gets collected from, the longer it takes things to spawn there. So you end up having to kind of be forced around the map slightly. Oh no, I'm not going to make it. Oh, I can see everybody inside. Am I going to drop dead on the door? Oh, the door blocked me. Oh, okay. So I can see Victorious is here. So you rejoined. Okay. Yeah. So you should respawn at the start of a day. That didn't seem to to do the trick. Oh, it seems to be once I've jumped, I get my speed back. Interesting. Okay, we've got 16 things to find. Oh, I've got none. I think this building's not been looted yet. Okay, I'm doing pretty good. I've got almost full 10 items. Cool. There we are. Right, I'm full. Coming back. Almost night. So night happens at 6 o'clock. So just now. Okay, everybody else. 5 things left. Anybody? So it looked like DJ you had them, but it wasn't accepting them. I guess maybe you weren't quite at the trigger. I'll probably need to like add like a visible box around where you need to deposit to make it clearer. I wonder how, yeah, this is a pretty good test. I wonder how quick it's going to get difficult. So that was 16. So I think there's 4 of us in here. So day 5 should add, probably just got up to 20 yet. I'm not sure when it becomes unsafe. Yeah, so I probably need an indicator on screen to kind of say the times, but it's actually like 6 o'clock in the morning, I think is day. And then 8 o'clock, sorry, 6 o'clock in the morning is day, 6 o'clock at night is night. So 0600 is safe all the way up to 1800, which is not safe. I do feel like there's something missing, like in terms of mechanics. If anyone has any ideas, if you're watching this live or on demand, let us know in the chat or in the comments. Like any thoughts about what we could do, perhaps to kind of make the game a bit more interesting. Perhaps like I just feel like there's a little bit of something to just an extra layer it needs to kind of make it a bit more engaging. $13 left. I've got 10 things. Oh, there we go. If I can make it up the stairs in time. There's 2 things left. No. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh no. I just dropped that in front of it. Oh wait. No, they weren't. Why would... Okay, not everybody was eliminated. Interesting. I'm not really sure why it reset us then, because we definitely had some people left, but on Stadia is very laggy. Very interesting. So that's another thing I probably could spend some time doing, is looking at the performance window. And another kind of key thing to do before you publish, really, is to spend a bit of time looking at the performance and optimizing anything that you can, kind of get an idea of where any little lag spikes might be in your code, or if there's any parts of the environment that are particularly expensive in terms of lighting or translucency on widgets and all those little things. So paying a lot of attention to the performance window is pretty key. Probably limit the number of players actually as well. I feel like I think I've left this at 12 players. And I guess 12. Yeah, it could probably support 12 players. Magna savers. Oh, no, yeah, I guess actually before we did all die at the same time, didn't we? Because if one of us dies, everybody dies? Because we died because the furnace wasn't on, so everybody died. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, we've set the record so far. As a team, we've hit 5 days survived. I have to get on the machine to put items down. So there's actually a trigger box like in front of it. They should be able to look forward and do it. As I say, I've made a note here, probably needs to actually have some sort of physical representation. It's not particularly clear either when the furnace is actually on. I think the smoke is on. Almost just ran off while looking up. Yeah, I think the furnace being up in the air is, like the smoke being on, is one way to see, but it's not particularly clear. So I should probably do some indication of when the furnace is and isn't on. We are all gonna die. I mean, the balancing doesn't seem too bad. Like, I almost made it back on that other one to kind of get through in enough time. Dryco just jumps into frame. Cool. Okay. A few minutes there. I think there's definitely some issues, but it's kind of working. You know, we've got a full game loop going on here. So yeah, I think that's quite an interesting mechanic. I quite like the way the game's going. Probably all I've got time for tonight, so I'm not going to bother jumping back in to the editor, but we'll have one more kind of maybe a decent go. There's 3 of us in here now, so let's see if we can, between the 3 of us, if we can get a couple of days survived. Okay, I've got 2 things. I'm going to head back before it gets too late. Try and not get caught out. Hopefully someone else has found one more thing. Okay, hopefully someone else is on the way back. DJ. There we go, nice. Okay, we are ready to go. Our campfire is functional in some way. Not currently, no. They were placed as kind of background kind of environment. But I think we could use them for something. I feel like we could maybe reduce the amount of them and maybe have it that players can spend items they find on kindling to kind of keep them alive, perhaps. If you activate a fire, then perhaps you can kind of say warm outside, or at least stop the effects of the cold at night. I think there's a lot we can do to really kind of make the mechanics deeper. You'll notice that they do go out at night. The fire, sorry, they go out during the day. They kind of light at night. We were saying in some earlier streams it'd be quite interesting to see if teams can get together and kind of hop in and out of the server to try and keep it going. Like, will it hit a point where it's easy enough to just kind of keep, like, if we originally had like a bank idea where you could kind of bank items, so you could just have players logging in to keep a server alive to try and, you know, be on like day 371, and then people are just, you know, depositing items in the bank to try and keep the server alive. That was quite an interesting thought. You know, it's like a big team strategy. One thing left. There we go. You probably, I wonder if I need to turn off player collision as well, because it seems like you could quite easily get caught on each other and it'd be quite frustrating. The game crashed. Oh no, that's not good. Although I guess that doesn't make sense if it resets rounds. A server uptime leaderboard would be really cool. Yeah, it'd be like, so the leaderboard on the number of days survived kind of feels like the only real, like, the best metric to to log. This building's completely empty. That's no good. I found 3 things. Is there a time limit for server uptime for play sessions at the minute, or could we potentially set a world record that way with the game? Yeah, I don't think there's a hard, like, after the server's been alive for X amount of time, it will just go away. I don't think that there's anything like that. I may be wrong, but I don't think we've ever had particularly a game where you're encouraged to stay alive for as long as you can. So we'll have to see how that goes. Victorious jumping in. But I think that's it. I think we're done for. We missed 2 items. Everybody froze. Game over. Okay, so there's a bit of work here to be done. I think there's, as I say, there's a little bit we can do to polish it up. I think that's probably where I'm going to leave that for this evening. So thank you everybody for jumping in. It's been pretty fun. It's always nice to kind of go through the editor and just talk through some of the things I'm doing. There's a lot I can do to improve this, and as I say, we'll probably not really spend any time with this on stream anymore because we're kind of out of the Mechanical Revolution season, but we will kind of be chipping away and obviously talking about it on Discord if people wanted to play test it or if wanted to kind of contribute ideas to it. This is definitely something that could kind of grow into a much larger game. So thank you everybody for joining in. As I say, if you haven't already, do make sure you head over to Discord. That's discord.gg/Crayta. It's a really good place to, as I say, to kind of do the things I've just mentioned. So if you've got a game you've worked on, then you can share it with the community on Discord. Open up a thread, get feedback, have a chat about it, find people to collaborate with, to test the game with, just generally play other games with. We've got all the other channels for helping out, so Lua help, UI help, game design help, all that sort of stuff. And we're pretty active as developers as well. Kind of, it's quite easy to get in touch with a member of staff via Discord. So if you had a question about Crayta, anything to do with kind of Crayta itself or how to play Crayta, how to use Crayta, all that sort of stuff, it's a really good way to do that. So do make sure you head over to discord.gg/Crayta and join the community over there. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram. That's @CraytaGame on both of those platforms. And as always, subscribe and follow us on Twitch and YouTube for more of these streams, video tutorials, and just general video highlight content and all that sort of stuff. AJ is going to be back tomorrow with a Best of Mechanical Revolution stream. So it's going to be a play along stream. So do make sure you tune into that and kind of have a little bit of a play along, and we'll play through a whole bunch of games from Mechanical Revolution, some of the best games showcasing all the best things about Mechanical Revolution. So the all the stuff around, you know, all the best assets, you know, the best environments, all the best uses of the Mechanical Revolution season, and we'll kind of send it off with a big bang. So do make sure you tune in tomorrow at the same time. That's 7 PM BST. And then, yeah, I may or may not be back later in the week on Thursday, but if not, I'll see you all next week.